Secretary General, and thank you, fellow delegates, for giving me this singular honor to chair this promotion committee. As the Secretary General rightly said, I think all our deliberation centers around our ability to consume whatever we produce. So to me, I see this committee as the linchpin between us and the consumers. If we are able to make a good work of this committee, I'm sure we'll be able to come up with some ideas that will help us to promote our own products. Having said that, I think time is fast spent, and I would like to refer delegates to the paper, working document on promotion committee, to be precise, CPA PRC 70/01, and in it is the draft agenda, and it's a tall order, and I think we need to go through it. If there are any other matters that we need to incorporate, I think this is the time for members to come up with any other matters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The draft agenda for today's deliberation will start with an update on the virtues of cocoa database. Then we'll look at the creation of a promotion fund. Then we'll have reports of activities from the national promotion committees. And we'll have a report of activities from the Secretariat that in the area of promotion. Then we'll take a look at the next step forward, the way forward, next steps to be taken. And then we'll look at upcoming events where Copal as a group can participate to promote the consumption of cocoa. Then we'll look at other matters and then an adoption of reports. Mr. Chairman, that's the draft agenda for today's deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And without further ado, maybe I would like to invite any comments, any additions to the agenda so that we can set the ball rolling. The floor is now open. Well, it doesn't appear to be any additions or comments on the agenda as presented. So I'll ask the Secretariat to proceed as enumerated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On our first agenda item on the database on the virtues of cocoa, we could recall that the Council of Ministers mandated the Secretariat to create a database on the virtues of cocoa, which national promotion committees could always come in and to pick information for their national programs. For the last 2 years, the Secretariat has on a regular basis been updating this database with new information that comes up on the health and nutritional benefits of cocoa and other related issues that lead to the promotion of cocoa consumption. For the 2006-2007 cocoa year, what the Secretariat has done to update the databases with the numerous publications and articles on the virtues of cocoa. On the list is examples of some of the subject headings that most of these things fall under. So as the new information comes up, we put them under those categories, which will make it easy for member countries to actually work with the information that comes, that we put in, that we collecting. Now, all this information would eventually be placed on the Copal website, which will make it easy to be accessed. Now, this is how the information in the database looks like. These are 3 examples for acne, cancer, and dental categories. It has the publisher, the title, and then the reference journal or publication, so that an individual could go directly and pick up the article and then use it. Now let's look at the actual domestic cocoa consumption. For the 2004-2005 cocoa year, the apparent domestic consumption, that is the actual consumption of cocoa products, distributed globally, shows that Europe consumes about half of the world's cocoa, North and Central America about 35%, Asia and Oceania 12%, and Africa 3%. Now this chart has been shown, I think, almost in every promotion committee meeting that we have, basically to stress the importance of promoting cocoa consumption, especially in the African countries. Now, when we take a closer look at our consumption against the actual production, we realize that Brazil consumes about 66% of its production, Cameroon 1.8, Cote d'Ivoire 0.7, Dominican Republic 1.5, Ghana 1.9, Malaysia 46.2, and Nigeria 7.8, and Togo about 0.2%. So this is the actual consumption against the average production. On average, about 6.5% of Copal's production is consumed in all the member countries put together. Now, why do we consume cocoa? Or why do we want to consume more cocoa? Well, we want to provide remunerative world market prices. Now, when we look at the equation, which says that price is a function of production consumption stocks. Thereby, production, when you take consumption out of production, which leaves stocks. Now, consumption here could be that's a proxy for stocks. So, what we have on the world market is that with high stock levels, we have lower prices, and then when stock levels are low, we usually have high prices when you look at the lag effects. So therefore, increased consumption depletes the free stocks and consequently would increase the price generally. So our main aim of increasing cocoa consumption is to actually deplete the free stocks of cocoa that have ended up being structural, because over the years it's not going down, it's going up. Now this graph shows the fundamentals, the market fundamentals. The red line shows the trends in cocoa production. And this is for grindings or consumption. So that though both are increasing, but we see that of recent, when you look at the till end, consumption for the first time is going up above production. Now when we put in the price, now this is the price trend over those same years. And then the bar chart at the bottom is the stocks. And when we look at the relationship between the average price level and the stocks, here where stocks were low, you realize that we have one of the highest prices, and this is when we had the lowest stocks. Now as the stocks level kept increasing, price level too kept decreasing. And it's the same pattern over the years. So this is to show why we need to decrease the free stocks of cocoa, because that is what can help us increase the consumption, the price of cocoa. Now of late, some of the consumer trends is that trends in the confectionery field predicted by analysts indicate that dark chocolate and high-end cocoa chocolate products, that is the single origin and then others, are increasing while actual chocolate production consumption is going down, but cocoa consumption is going up because of the higher cocoa content in those high-end products. Now, growth in the industry is attributed to the health and nutritional benefits that of late have come up, and it's estimated that every year the gourmet chocolate candy grew at about 32%, and that is in 2005, and is likely to grow even higher in the years ahead. Now, organic cocoa, which is driven by the health and wellness trend, and organic natural products are the growing categories in the confectionery segment, particularly organic chocolates that are growing more than 50%. So that is even higher than the other high-end chocolate products like the single origin. Now, when we take a closer look at the health and nutritional benefits of cocoa consumption. So cocoa consumption has been scientifically linked to longer life, and chocolate is one of the highest foods on the antioxidant chart with more than 400 compounds and plant chemicals, and all these are beneficial to the human body. Now, several studies show that chocolate is a mild mood elevator, which basically means it makes us happy and less stressed. If consumed in moderation, it can actually better your health by providing antioxidant that fight off diseases. So this is to support the second point. And the nutritional information. Cocoa is known as an energy food. It contains high levels of catechin, fiber, carbohydrates, vitamins, and then antioxidants. It has calcium, phosphates, vitamins A, B, C, D in some smaller quantities. So cocoa is not only for nutrition, but it's also not for health alone, but as a nutritional food. Now, for new frontiers, that's the new areas that are still under investigation, and these are malaria and the sickle cell crisis. Why do we want to promote cocoa consumption? Or how do we promote cocoa consumption? Cocoa consumption in many produced countries has suffered from a cycle of short variations. Now, when prices are high, there doesn't seem to be any concern to promote consumption. But when prices are low too, there is the issue of budgetary allocation. Now, there are two ways that cocoa consumption could be promoted: by brand promotion or generic promotion. And Copal, or the Alliance, has opted for the generic promotion, which aims at communicating the virtues of cocoa to consumers and making them aware of the positive attributes and characteristics of cocoa. And this is why we're creating a database on cocoa, virtues of cocoa. Brand promotion, as we all know, is more for the private sector who have specific brands to promote, and not Copal. Since the creation of the promotion committee, Copal is in the process of creating the promotion fund, and has recommended the creation of national promotion committees that we all know some countries have them in place and are actually functioning. Has instituted 1st October as a Copal Cocoa Day. We just had a report on that from the Chief Executive of Ghana Cocoa Board today. And the Secretariat has created a database that we update on a regular basis. And this is to serve as a information source for member countries in their promotion programs. Now, what needs to be done? Our goal here is increase awareness and utilization of cocoa and all cocoa products. And how do we do this? This brings together all players in the field. We have the policymakers and industry, researchers, the food scientists, nutritionists, biochemists, pharmacists. Then we have the food preparation and food service industry, like the tourism sector, the hotels, the restaurants, and then the media who have to take the information out to let the public know about the goods list of cocoa. So all players it's necessary for all players two get together to actually achieve the goal that has been illustrated here. Mr. Chairman, this is the end of the first agenda item on the virtues of cocoa.
Thank you very much for a very, how do I put it, very, very interesting presentation. I think your presentation has captured everything that we need to know about the virtues of cocoa. And I now leave the floor open for contributions and comments by delegates.
Worried a number of times about the use of consumption or grinding. Is there any difference between those two, and what do they connote? Because when we're talking about data for grinding, I believe that a lot of it must not be consumption, but grinding. Is grinding synonymous to consumption? Please.
Grindings and consumption sometimes are used interchangeably because cocoa beans, all cocoa beans are converted first into grindings and then to the end products. Now it's more easier to know exactly how much grindings have been processed, or how much beans have been processed to grind. It's much easier to know that than to know the end products, or how much cocoa content is in all the end products. So for that reason, as a proxy for consumption, grindings is used. Then we have the apparent domestic consumption, which was the pie chart that I showed, which tries to calculate the actual content of cocoa that has been consumed. So the first one, grindings, is a proxy to estimate how much cocoa has been used generally, whichever area it goes, whether pharmaceuticals or chocolate, or that's what it tries to capture.
It is also easier for industry to give you their grinding figures than what they're holding in terms of semi-finished and other finished products in their warehouses. So that's why that is used more commonly than the finished product.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais remercier le secrétariat pour le travail remarquable qui a été fait sur ce chapitre de la consommation. Et nous souhaiterons, nous, délégués de Côte d'Ivoire, s'il est possible au secrétariat de mettre en place.
I'd like to thank the secretary for putting the disposal at our disposal. This document, which will give us a much bigger orientation after what we have grabbed here. Chair, I also like to support the Secretariat in the promotion of other products, other cocoa products. We never have enough because we have the tendency to believe that cocoa is chocolate. So when we say we are doing promotion, we are only doing the promotion of chocolate. That is the product that we do. But we can also do the promotion of other products from cocoa, maybe pharmaceutical products, soap, pomade. Even recently, I have seen that we can do massaging with cocoa butter or even with black chocolate. So I think this it is not promotion with the mouth, as is said in my country, but what we do elsewhere, we have to put accent. We have to emphasize this aspect, which will solve the stock problem that producing countries deliver on the international market. As the expert has said, the higher the stock, the lower the prices. So I believe that if we want to contribute to reduce the volume on the international market, we have to lay emphasis on the consumable products. But also we should highlight the products which come out of processed cocoa. Thank you.
In the absence of any further, maybe we may wish to make some progress. So I'll move to the next item on the agenda. Creation of promotion fund.
We have discussed the issue of a promotion fund for over a 5-year period, and so far the discussions have ended at the level of the General Assembly and not very much has been done. And we felt that maybe it's time we create a proper institutional framework by asking our Council of Ministers to take a decision. The last time we discussed this issue in an extraordinary General Assembly meeting in London, we looked at the possibility of having a $10 million promotion fund. The first reading of the document said countries will contribute in accordance to the way contributions to the administrative budget is paid as pro rata production. And in a second reading, we were talking about voluntary contributions, but there's been no formal creation by the Council of this fund, and we thought that it's time that this was done, especially because after the first summit of heads of state that took place in Abuja in 2006, chaired by the former President Olusegun Obasanjo, he was so bent on promotion that he graciously offered to the Copal Promotion Fund $500,000, $500,000, and in the next 2 weeks, we believe those funds will be available to the Copal Secretariat. We will not refuse the funds because we don't have an institutional framework, but we think we should put an institutional framework in place with a council decision. That's why we're proposing this draft. And the draft simply, you have it, I think we have circulated copies, if not, recognizing the great efforts made by modern research on the important nutritional and health benefits of cocoa and its value to our citizenry, taking note that for promoting consumption, taking that the need for promoting consumption is not usually perceived when the market is favorable and not usually budgeted for when the market prices fall. Conscious of the importance of consumption of cocoa towards an equilibrium between demand and supply in the medium to long term, concerned that the average consumption of cocoa among Copal members is extremely low compared to other producing regions in the world, recalling the Abidjan Charter of the Cocoa Producers Alliance 1962 and its objective to promote the expansion of the consumption of cocoa, as well as the creation of the Promotion Committee as a statutory committee of the Alliance, do hereby decide to create a promotion fund, hereafter called the Fund for the Cocoa Producers Alliance. The fund shall be managed by the Secretariat under the supervision of the Promotion Committee. The rules and regulations of the fund shall be approved by the Council of Ministers. So that's the draft we submit for your reading so that we can eventually, through the General Assembly, send it for Council approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Let me wish you a good morning, and let's hope that this morning we will be able to at least do a lot of work because we're already behind time. Without wasting too much time, I think delegates have been given copies of the newly worded draft for your consideration. So I'll call on the Secretary General to set the ball rolling by taking us through, and hopefully we'll get some kind of consensus based on what has been presented. Mr. Secretary General, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also apologies from the Secretariat. We were trying to capture the ideas from the floor yesterday, and unless my memory failed me, the general consensus was that delegations didn't have a problem with the creation of a promotion fund. The modalities of that fund either its constitution or its rules and regulations were what was still hanging in the balance. So we tried to come up with a draft council decision creating a fund in light of the other decisions that have been taken on promotion. So it reads simply that recognizing the great efforts made by modern research to the important nutritional and health benefits of cocoa and its value to our citizenry, that's the first line, concerned with the low level of consumption among Copal member countries, I think we modified that bullet point, conscious of the impact of increased consumption of cocoa towards an equilibrium between demand and supply in the medium to long term. We added increased, as the delegates suggested. Recalling the Abidjan Charter of the Cocoa Producers Alliance 1962 and its objective to promote the expansion of the consumption of cocoa, recalling the creation of the Promotion Committee as a statutory committee of the Alliance in January 2002. There we separated the charter from the Promotion Committees. What's new? Do hereby decide, number one, to create a promotion fund, hereafter called the Fund for the Cocoa Producers Alliance. The fund shall be managed by the Secretariat under the supervision of the Promotion Committee. And then we have two issues in brackets, Mr. Chairman. The rules and regulations of the fund shall be approved by council, and the contributions to the fund would be voluntary. We did not quite capture from the floor if the decision on whether or not the contributions will be voluntary will be done by the committee or the council. That's why we put it in square brackets. And we didn't quite capture whether the rules and regulations should be approved by council or the committee. That's why we put those two in square brackets. So maybe if the delegates have a preference on which way we go, on one or the other or both, then we can finalize that text and submit it for your consideration. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Secretary General. We invite comments from delegates. I can see Malaysia wants to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like a very good morning to everybody, and I would like to draw all delegates' attention to page 90 of the Working Committee Decision 007/CM/6, where the Council of Ministers of the Cocoa Producers Alliance meeting in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire in September 2006 has already made the decision on the creation of a cocoa promotion fund, and therefore this maybe you do not need to put the point to create a promotion fund back to the council again. And I would like to draw your attention to the point, the last point on the recommend that consideration should be given inter alia to mass feeding programs, conducive taxation policies, and the allocation of adequate funding from levies on the cocoa sector. It is already clearly specified, and therefore your suggestion of the contribution to the fund will be voluntary may have to go back to the Council of Ministers again. I would like to draw attention of all the delegates to the approval that was already done. And I only knew this after going through the records last night. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. We have just been in touch with the office to get the decisions because we thought there had been a council decision, but we were not very sure, mainly because of this voluntary and mandatory issue. So if the distinguished delegate can give us a copy before the one comes from Lagos, I think we may not need a council decision anymore if that decision has been made.
Sorry, Chairman, this is in the book that was given to us on the first day. Page 90, CPA-GA 70/2007 working document. The tickers of the General Assembly. Page 90. Page 90, decision number 7 CM/06. The Council of Ministers of the Cocoa Producers Alliance meeting in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, the 1st September 2006 is all specified there. I presume we passed the minutes of this meeting yesterday, which was recommended, if I'm not wrong, by Ghana and seconded by Nigeria. Yesterday, when we adopt and to pass the minutes of the 69th General Assembly.
Yeah. Yes, Chairman, the distinguished delegate of Malaysia is right. The Council decision 007 did in fact create a promotion fund in September 2006. So we apologize for all the water that has been floating under the bridge so far.
Chairman, if I may, I think what we need to do is to work out the mechanism of operation as what Honorable Secretary General says, the rules and regulations pertaining to the operation of the said fund. I think that you may want to put that to the Council of Ministers. And I would like to draw you to the fact that the statement saying that adequate funding from levies on the cocoa sector. So I presume, if I'm wrong, please rectify me, I presume that funding to this promotion fund would come from levies. You must realize that not all member countries have levies. So how do we go about getting it done? And you may want to include, as the forwarded just now, the contributions to the fund could be voluntary. So you have many ways of achieving the funding.
Mr. Chairman, I think we can really make progress now. I think we already have a council decision to create a fund. The constitution of the fund could be varied. I think the rules and regulations of the functioning of the fund is the second document that will be distributed very soon, and I think that's all we need to consider. But I think we already have a council decision to create a fund. I'd like to apologize that we have been calling the office to get that information because we thought we had, but at least now we do have. So maybe, Chairman, we can eliminate this and move on to the next point. Could we then suggest that we take the rules and regulations of the promotion fund as a draft? We can equally leave it for the meeting of the promotion committee itself but if the promotion committee meets and adopts its rules, it'll have to come back to the General Assembly. And we're meeting here in the promotion committee, so maybe we can take a few minutes and look at a draft copy of the rules and regulations of the promotion fund.
Delegates as well. I think having come this far, if we could get a draft of that so that we can settle this matter as soon as possible and move on.
Rule number 1, Mr. Chairman, the objective of the fund shall generally be to have a perennial mechanism to promote the consumption of cocoa and cocoa-based products, and more specifically to finance promotion campaigns research and studies related to the consumption of cocoa and related expenses incurred by the Secretariat and third parties duly mandated by the Secretariat. The sources of the fund. The resources of the fund shall consist of voluntary contributions from members, non-members, and other organizations, including the private sector or private sector organizations. The promotion committee, when appropriate, shall establish modalities for the implementation of promotion programs or initiatives that allow for the participation of the private sector and other institutions. No member of Copal shall be liable for the acts or obligations of the fund only by virtue of its membership in the alliance. Rule number 3, decision on the use of funds. All decisions of the promotion committee related to promotion activities which are entirely or partially financed by the promotion fund shall, in accordance with the rules of the committee, be taken by members contributing to the fund. To be considered a member contributing to the fund, an institution or private sector or non-member shall contribute at least $10,000 to the fund. We put 10,000 in square brackets for the delegates to decide if that amount is too low. Rule number 4, submission and approval of projects. The fund shall be used primarily to finance collective Copal promotional initiatives. Member countries of Copal shall be eligible to submit project proposals for financing by the fund. Projects, specifically those involving participation as Copal, may also be developed by the Secretariat under the guidance of the Promotion Committee. Projects approved by contributing members to the fund. Projects are approved by contributing members to the fund, Decisions are preferably to be taken by consensus. If voting is required, decisions shall be taken by a simple majority vote. Voting rights shall be proportioned to the contribution of each member to the fund. Rule number 5, the Secretary General shall be responsible for the management of the fund. He shall report regularly to the Promotion Committee on all matters relating to the projects and finances of the fund. The Promotion Committee shall monitor the progress of each project and shall receive evaluation reports thereon. Number 6, concerning the placement of the funds. The resources of the fund shall be placed with banks duly approved for this purpose by the Promotion Committee. Rule number 7, promotion fund accounts. Contributions received for the promotion fund shall be paid into a separate account from other administrative accounts. The promotion fund accounts shall include an income and expenditure account for the year and a balance sheet at the end of the year, supported by accounts of contributions collected from individual donors. Records and books of accounts shall be open to inspection at all times by donors, the Promotion Committee, and auditors. The Promotion Committee may review these rules, or its rules and regulations, I should say, as and when necessary. So that's the draft rules and regulations. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, first I want to thank sincerely the distinguished delegate from Malaysia, who obviously has read what most of us did not read. Yeah, and if we had read it, perhaps we would have saved the time yesterday. But having said that, I just wish to comment on rule number 2, resources of the fund. I am not too clear in my own mind where 3 and 4 comes into resources of the fund. It's perhaps, if the Secretary General will expatiate on it, I get the feeling that we don't actually need 3 and 4. Thank you.
Yes, Secretary General, your response, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that's a valid point, especially for number 3. Number 4, I would suggest we maintain, because it's a liability coming from the use of the fund. I think that statement needs to be in the document, maybe not under the resources of the fund. Number 3 could be considered a little bit superfluous, since the committee shall make its own rules and regulations as time permits. But the issue of liability, just by virtue of being a member of Copal, to the fund and its use, I think it's worthwhile stating in this document. Maybe not under resources.
Certainly not under resources. I mean, resources, I think, as stated in 2, is sufficient. We should probably find another place for. As for 3, I think it should be deleted. The 4, we may find another place, maybe at the end of it, for, Thank you, Secretary General.
Thank you, Ghana. Can we have Cameroons on the line?
Oui. Monsieur le Président, je voudrais...
I don't want to raise a point of order, but I fear that with the way we are conducting deliberations, we have 2 debates on the same subject. We need to have the French version of the document to be at the same level. There have been various proposals, relevant ones, made by the delegation of Ghana, which are related to the text, the English text of the documents. If we can also have the French version, I think we will all be progressing at the same level.
The word generic in terms of cocoa and related products, however, it would be useful that when a private institution or a private company or a private company or a private manufacturer is able, on the basis of these funds, must come up with its own etiquettes or trademarks. Cadbury, and it needs a certain, with the help of a certain sum of money. Then, with the help of the right sums of money, it will be able to improve its products. It is prohibited. Certain actions are forbidden, and yet we should foresee the fact that the use of the funds to promote our own products is important.
It seems that we are not really prepared for this. It's some sort like, it just, oh, what happened? I forgot this thing. And this thing just come up overnight and caught us by surprise. And even, we are not really, the document here also not really thoroughly been thought through, because all these rules and regulations are jumbling here and there on the management of the account, all those things. It's not, I don't think it's thoroughly thought through. So it's unfair for us. I don't know about other members, but for Malaysia, I don't think it's fair for us to sit down and deliberate and agree on this one and then push over to the Council of Ministers. As I said yesterday, let's sit through, get this thing organized and done properly, then only we get it done. Or else we have to, somebody else might complain that, hey, how come when I go back to my capital, how come this document is so what they call not really complete and you agree upon? I don't have the mandate to agree upon this. So please, first thing, the French version is not ready. How are we going to discuss this? Are we going to postpone it again and then come back again? I hope that this thing be really prepared, then only we can sit down among the members. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Malaysia. I give the floor to the Secretary General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we've decided to suspend discussions on the rules and regulations while waiting for the French copy to be made available. I'm happy that we have been able to find the council decision creating the fund, so I think we are above that hurdle. In any international commodity organization or meeting, the Secretariat presents a document, the delegates can amend it. But in the Secretariat, we think it is well thought through. It may not meet your standards, but that's why we are here. Delegates can amend it so that all of us are satisfied with the document. Well, we think the documents we submit to you are well thought through, at least from a Secretariat standpoint. But if you're not happy with it, at least we're here to take notes of your comments so that we leave here with the best document that meets everybody's proposals. But I think that the decision was to suspend this point and move on while waiting for the French document to be circulated. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Secretary General. Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais m'aligner sur la position du délégué de Malaisie. En fait, le problème qui est posé, ce n'est pas que nous examinions la version française.
Considering the French version of the document, I think yesterday we expressed ourselves extensively on our position. It is a question of allowing us to take this proposal and consider it very seriously. It's possible that we may have proposals to make with regard to how to approach this promotion fund. And if we go do this thing in a haste, well, it is good that all the points be examined here, but we as a member state may have a position to express, and we may even extend the scope of this fund. So I think that everything is being done a little bit in a haste. For now, we know that the fund has already been established, but we don't have any modalities for the management or disbursement of that fund. But we can give the mandate to the committee, the promotion committee, to do that if the Secretariat will allow, and then that committee will submit another document for consideration, but not at this session anyway. But if I look at the line of reasoning of the delegate of Malaysia, it looks like we are all on the same kind of wavelength. I understand the context in which we want to act, because yesterday the Secretary General raised the fact that we had this grant from a former president, and that if we are not able to constitute this fund as early as possible, we could really miss that opportunity. But I think that it can be decided today that this fund be set aside for the organization, but we cannot link that with the future administration of the fund. Our position is that the fund really being there is different from the regulations for its disbursement or administration. As far as we are concerned, we cannot right now examine this particular document because it is a bit too hasty for us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We need to empower the promotion committee to, try to collate the views of countries which have extensive experience in this particular matter, to ensure the replenishment of this fund and its effective management. And I think that subsequently, after that, we can have a document which can be submitted for the consideration of the General Assembly, and the rest will be submitted to the Council of Ministers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to remind delegates that we are in the promotion committee right now, and like I mentioned earlier, we could very well suspend this point. At least we have a legal framework, which is a previous council decision creating a fund. I think it will be to advantage to inform Council of Ministers that such a fund was created and that we already have a donation. Maybe the ministers could make pledges towards this fund when they happily find out that somebody else has made a pledge towards this fund. The rules and regulations could be taken home and examined, at leisure for future consideration and adoption. But I am very surprised at that delay, because it's just the modalities to manage the fund. And like I said yesterday, these rules and regulations were done after consultations with the ICCO that manages a promotion fund, and we just aligned the ICCO document, which has been approved by the same membership, to the Copal circumstances. So what we will do in taking home that document, we will send you with Dr. Fingerhood's permission, a copy of the rules and regulations of the ICCO fund to show that it's something that we have approved in other instances, and we haven't really tried to invent the wheel at the Copal Secretariat. But we will be happy to suspend the issue, Mr. Chairman, so that maybe we can move to other committee items.
Thank you, Secretary General. I see the flag. Let's have Cameroons and then we'll get back to Malaysia.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Nous souhaitions avoir le texte
to have the French text of these regulations. It looks like the committee is moving towards a conclusion, which I believe will be most appropriate. But having the text is to have the opportunity also to go and consider it closely, and we can then possibly amend it or improve upon it. I don't want to go into any polemics about the fact that the ICCO has adopted as kind of a document. We also need to adopt the same method. No. That being said, we have the practical issues. We have money that is coming in, and I believe the committee can, on this particular issue, recommend to the General Assembly to authorize the Secretary General of Copal to open an account to receive the grant that has been given by His Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then subsequently, while we wait for the modus operandi to be approved by the various bodies, including the promotion committee, it can propose these statutes and regulations, which should be approved at least by the General Assembly. While we wait for the document to be approved, that money can be received, and considering that there's no project, it can be held in an account for the meantime, but we need to have a timeline by which the committee would have adopted these statutes, and if it is not in its competence to adopt it finally, at least agree on the text of that document and submit it for the approval by Council of Ministers. This is a proposal we have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Cameroon. I saw let's have Malaysia and Ghana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very well said, delegate from Cameroon. What we would like to say is that Copal is Copal. We do not want to copy ICCO. We have our own importance to emphasize. We have this promotion committee in the sense that we want to increase or enhance cocoa consumption such that there if possible, there is no overhanging stock. We are looking after our interests, all cocoa producing countries' interests, which is of more importance. And we hope the Secretary General can look from that perspective. Good ideas, good things for Copal. So we do not agree with total copying what ICCO has. Use it as a guideline by all means. And I think we share what Côte d'Ivoire says. Let's have good, proper, and also as what Cameroon says, let's have good, proper document in place. You have already got the account, for the promotion fund. The contributions can go in, but operation-wise, let's be very transparent and let's be very clear. And with good integrity, we will be looked upon and we will be a good example for others to follow. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for your contribution. Let's have Ghana and then Nigeria.
Mr. Chairman, I think the distinguished delegate from Cameroon made a proposal which I believe will take us one step forward. And Ghana will support that proposal that we should, or the committee should authorize the Secretariat to open an account to receive the $500,000 kindly and graciously donated by the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think this will be a first step. However, since the regulations are not yet approved, I will suggest that that account be an interest-bearing account while we wait for the regulations. So the system, the whole idea is to create a system which will enable us to receive donations, but not to apply those donations until the regulations are approved by us. So I second the proposal made by Cameroon.
Thank you. Can we have Nigeria on the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to air an observation on the proposals made by Cameroon and supported by Ghana on this promotion fund donated by Nigeria. While we have the urge to make this donation, we have concern that we have money that we are going to be dished out for a purpose, and then this money is going to be kept just in deposit or somewhere to be used when we don't know. So this is the problem we may have when we go to convince our principals as to the release of this fund. Rather, I would suggest maybe leave this money with Nigeria. The money is in our central bank account. It has been kept there. When a decision is taken on the modalities of operation of the fund, then we will advise on the release of the fund to the Secretariat of Copal. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Nigeria. Do you want to? Well, Cameroons will have the floor.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Je crois qu'on avance très bien.
Mr. Chairman, I think we are making steady progress. There's no problem once the Secretary General states clearly, that an account to be open at the level of the Bank of Nigeria. But is Copal authorized to open an account at that level? These are things that we need to clarify. And it will be more appropriate that this money be transferred from a donor to the central bank without this, the transfer of the grants to Copal. For it to be effective, it is necessary that the Secretary General of Copal opens that account at the level of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, the amount is supposed to leave the donor and come into the account of Copal. Now, the transfer must be very clear. From that time, you know, that account can be opened within the Central Bank of Nigeria. There's no problem. But if the transfer is not done from the donor to Copal effectively, and that it is the money is just lodged at the Central Bank of Nigeria, it means that we need to make some undergo certain procedures to ensure its effective transfer to Copal. So it must be transferred and not just lodged at the Central Bank of Nigeria. And I would also like to insist on deadlines. We propose that deadlines be set. You know, we have to set a deadline to say that the promotion committee has up till this or that deadline to do this work and then submit its work to the General Assembly. I think that deadline or time frame must be set also. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The debate is getting more interesting. Let's give the floor to the Secretary General. We'll get to Ghana and Nigeria. Oh, Ghana.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, once again, I'm put in a position where I'll have to support the Cameroonian delegate. I believe that if a donation has been announced, it should be transferred. Not only that, we were minded to support the Cameroonian position because there is a distinct possibility that some countries and some ministers will make pledges and may even go forward to make those donations. We must find a place for the money and the pledges. We must find a place. But I also agree that we need to have specific timelines as to when these regulations will come into force. And I think this is the essence of the Cameroonian position, you know, that we must have specific timelines. If the promotion committee is being given the authority to debate and come up with guidelines which are adequate for all of us, then they must be given specific timelines. If it's a matter of meeting again after this meeting, it has to be done, you know. But they need to have specific timelines, or else we get back to the concerns of the Nigerian delegation when they say that they don't even know when the regulations will be in place. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Ghana. The Secretary General wants to have a word, then we get back to you.
I just wanted to seek for clarification from the Nigerian delegation, because I heard the delegation say the money would be held in the central bank until we are ready for its use and then it's released.
Exactly.
That's one thing. We don't have any authorization to open an account in the Central Bank of Nigeria. We don't have any authorization to open an account in any bank until the General Assembly of the Alliance approves the request of the Secretariat. That's why I'm surprised that the rules and regulations for managing a promotion fund cannot be done in 2 hours. I'm very surprised because they are based on the financial rules and regulations that we have set for the alliance, for the monies you give us to manage. And I don't see any difference with a promotion fund, how many zeros you add to the figure. So to be honest, I'm surprised that in 2 hours we cannot come. If we give you the financial rules and regulations of the alliance talking about accountability and reporting, they are the same as the rules we have presented. So I don't have any mandate to open an account in the Central Bank of Nigeria, and I'm very comfortable that we wait until whenever the committee is ready, then Nigeria instructs the Central Bank to release the funds. I'm very comfortable with that. Thank you, Chairman.
So I was saying that I approve the position of the distinguished delegate of Cameroon, who are supported by the distinguished delegate of Ghana. We need to be transparent in the management of this fund because it is surrounded by a system such that we do not have to confuse the administrative funds with this particular promotion fund. We have to make a clear distinction between the two. And there must be a clear timetable or with regard to or timelines with regard to the deadline for the completion of these regulatory documents and its adoption. If I read this, if I read the Abidjan Charter, it really establishes all the regulations relating to the regulation, the operation of the committee. You know, there are various procedures to put cases before the Council of Ministers, etc. So, without wanting to repeat myself, I approve the position of Cameroon and that of Ghana in this matter. Thank you.
I just want to express some kinds of disappointment because I don't know what we are arguing about here. Opening accounts, doing this. Some of our members there contributed money to ICCO without asking for them to open separate accounts. You see, what promotion funds, what led our president, our former president, to donating that money was the fact that when we went to him and he called for African Cocoa Summit, he knew that the Council of Ministers are taking decisions about the promotion funds, whatever. And he felt that we should really start the promotion of local consumption of cocoa in our various countries. And he thought that it would be immediate. And if he had gone ahead to give us this money, it is surprising that those of us that should be acting are here arguing over regulations and all that, which I don't really see the importance. The promotion committee could be scheduled with maybe the powers or whatever to do what they have to do. You see, we should stop chasing shadows. And I think while our former president contributed this money is because, like us too, he believes that ICCO can never do what we are supposed to do for ourselves. They can never, he said it, and we also believe in it. Charity begins at home. And I'm surprised that we're all seated here arguing about things we shouldn't even be arguing about. I believe that, like they've said, it is voluntary. Whoever wants to contribute to it, should contribute to it. And I don't think that opening accounts here and there, it's what will make it accountable. It is not. Accountability does not mean opening various accounts. And I don't know, anyway, if even ICCO has various accounts. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Nigeria. I think all these views will be taken into account, and the secretariats will have to work on a formula that will be suitable to delegates. Because if we continue this debate, I'm sure we're going to stay here the whole morning. So I recommend that we maybe shelve this for now and go to the next item. It's not to say that we have completely forgotten this item. We'll get back to it. The good thing is that everybody's agreed that there should be a promotion fund. As to the modalities, maybe we can later on sort out what needs to be done so that everybody is happy with what comes on board. So with your kind permission, I would like to move to the next item. We'll take it in the order in which it is presented. In the absence of Brazil, we might have to call on Cameroon to set the ball rolling. Cameroon, you have the floor.
We've put in place the institutional framework. There is a committee and there is a promotion committee. There's an interministerial committee and a promotion committee in place. but for budgetary reasons, we didn't go into any specifics. However, we've created the first special fund for commodities, and we think that the budgetary provisions are in place now to go into effective implementation of promotional activities. So this will be in 2008, and we are counting on the lessons from Nigeria and Ghana, who have already taken a head step to help us after meetings like this to put in place our own promotional activities. That's all I can say for now. Thank you.
Gracias, señor presidente. La República Dominicana ha hecho varias actividades,
carried out a number of activities with regard to promotion.
In terms of the promotion, generic promotion of cocoa in my country, this year we celebrated in a town that is called Sebo on the 1st of October, the National Day of, we celebrated the National Day of Cocoa, such as Copal provides for. There was, the Minister of Agriculture was present, and tools were given out to farmers. A prize was given to the best cocoa farmer, and the National Cocoa Commission organized various activities. We said that we celebrate every year a marathon of cocoa marathon. Generally, it is not a generic marathon, but rather a marathon that is organized, that the manufacturers organize, those who produce lots of cocoa. That is called Cortes Hermanos, and they are very, very high premium. This year also, they produced, 200,000 participants were involved. Several kilometers were covered, and three major prizes were given out. There were prizes that were given out, prizes containing cocoa products. We also, the Cocoa Commission, we also organized in various cocoa growing areas. We met producers, and then we instructed them, we taught them that they must consume more cocoa. I believe that we have done these kinds of activities, and we have gone to a stage of 2.5 rate of increase of consumption in cocoa, and therefore we believe that the program has been efficient and effective as far as the increase in national cocoa consumption is concerned. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Ghana's report is on two fronts. Number one, local grindings. The current installed capacity of local processing factories is about 250,000 tons per annum. Compared to the current capacity utilization of about 85,000 tons, Ghana has the potential to increase the percentage of cocoa beans processed locally to about 40% of national output in the medium term. Towards the realization of this objective, Cocoa Board has signed beans supply agreements with both local and international cocoa processors to further enhance local processing. 2, per capita consumption. Government recognizes that the current per capita consumption of about 0.475 kilograms is rather on the low side. In order to improve upon this, a number of interventions are being put in place to promote local consumption to 1 kilogram per capita. These include: 1, institution of National Cocoa Day observed on the 1st of October every year. A number of activities are held on this day to increase public awareness of the benefits of consuming cocoa. 2, institution of National Chocolate Day observed on Valentine's Day, 14th February, every year. National Chocolate Day is a joint collaboration between the Ministry of Tourism and Cocoa Board, and is set aside to encourage every Ghanaian to offer a gift of chocolate. 3, inclusion of cocoa drink in the menu of the school feeding program for children in basic schools in Ghana. 4, government is exploring the possibility of introducing cocoa drink in the menu of the police and the military establishments in Ghana. And finally, Professor Francis Adai of the Ghana Medical School and a renowned advocate of cocoa consumption is being encouraged to intensify his public health campaigns on the health benefits of cocoa. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, distinguished delegates of Ghana. Then we'll move on to Malaysia. Can we have Malaysia to give their presentation? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I think you're aware that Malaysia has got a cocoa promotion consumption campaign right from the year 2001. We do it in schools, we do it through the television media, and we have cooking lessons on how to make dishes and recipes from cocoa, and that is also a television program. This year we also had the Malaysian International Commodity Showcase, and we have exhibitions and promotions for cocoa utilization throughout that week, and I think most delegates who have been to Malaysia in 2005 during the Malaysian International Cocoa Fair. So every 2 years we run such additional campaigns in addition to our normal every year school programs, television programs, and this is done by the Malaysian Cocoa Board. So it is actually part of our function. I think that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, distinguished delegates, in Nigeria, our promotion committee is headed by a deputy governor of one of the producing states, and the federal government of Nigeria this year provided a sum of 48 million naira to the committee for its activities. And I'm happy to announce that, to report that the committee has undertaken a number of activities, namely, for the information of the delegates, we have undertaken 3 Cocoa National Days successfully from 2004 to 2007. And also the federal government has approved our school feeding program, and we have produced a booklet which I intend to bring forward to the delegates on the consumption of cocoa. Yes. We have prepared a well-articulated sensitization publicity agenda. We have also articulated a partnership with the Nigerian Heart Foundation, the Cancer Society of Nigeria, the National Agency for Food and Drug Control, NAFDAC. We have also gotten let me see. Cancer Foundation. Yes. Okay, just a moment. Yes. Okay. Then we have in our plan for the coming year, 2007-2008. That is a number of activities that we will run, which will include and we presented this, our implementation program, to the government, and the government has approved. So the committee is proceeding with the implementation of this plan of activities. We will, in this plan, use the media in our sensitization efforts. We will produce a lot of literature on the health benefits of cocoa that we will be distributing as we go along with our sensitization program. Also, we will carry out advocacy with states to promote cocoa, and also invite members of the hospitality sector, that is hotels and tourism, to a number of workshops that have been slated. Also, there will be the cocoa, first cocoa day, which will be celebrated in the first quarter of 2008. Is also in the line of activities that we are going to undertake. We have also slated to continue with our program that is on the SC of school children, SC on which we started, SC competitions on the health benefits of cocoa. It was done last year and very successfully. We have a lot of participation from school children. Also, we are partnering with CAN, that is the Cocoa Association of Nigeria, in our promotional efforts on consumption of cocoa. CAN has already visited some states on this drive, and they also intend to continue under the current year, that is 2007-2008, with their efforts in sensitization of sensitization. Also, we have also arranged to partner with other producers of other processors of cocoa, for example, Nestle, Cadbury, and others that are going to join hands with us in our promotional efforts on consumption. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, distinguished.
One very, very important point which skipped my mind, that is the directive which government has given, because government has still reiterated the directive on consumption of cocoa in offices and at all functions which are done by government. So this is in full force and is all aimed at increasing our consumption of cocoa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cote d'Ivoire and then Togo later.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, de me donner la parole.
The floor to give you a summary of activities of the promotion committee for the 2006-2007 season. You know, our committee was established in 2002 and our committee has its own program but also works in partnership with various bodies which are responsible for the cocoa sector. You know, we do not separate coffee and cocoa in our activities. So I'm going to tell you about exactly what the committee did as its own activity. The committee installed various kiosks close to schools and major centers or squares in Abidjan, and there we had cocoa counters, we had vanilla counters, ginger counters, and this was extensively well appreciated by the population, and we had a lot of these kiosks on a pilot basis. And if by the end of the year or in 2 or 3 months time things go well, we will install other kiosks in other towns and cities in Cote d'Ivoire. Now the next activity had to do with the stationing of traders or salespersons who had been trained to promote specifically cocoa and coffee. As far as cocoa was concerned, these salespersons were stationed in the markets and the commercial areas, and at least we are waiting for the results of this exercise at the end of the year. And we also work together with the cocoa board of Cote d'Ivoire, and this had to do with the farmers' chocolate concept, and this concept aims at promoting, after a study on the various production zones, a map of the various cocoa areas in Cote d'Ivoire was drawn up, and from these various areas of production we selected a number of farmers whose beans were processed into chocolate, and we had stars like Didier Drogba who have added their photographs to that particular promotion activity. And if everything goes well, we will test these products at the international level. At the national level, the committee has worked with various allied institutions, and we are moving to another stage. Perhaps during the Cup of Nations here in Accra, we'll bring some of our promotional activities here. And still under this committee, we have another project. The committee worked in 2004 with a committee that was established to promote chocolate consumption in Cote d'Ivoire, and we held the first National Cocoa Day in Cote d'Ivoire. That was in 2004, and within the plan we envisaged with this committee, each year we should be able to hold various promotions. Unfortunately, the crisis that prevailed since 2004, we've not been able to hold a second edition of these Cocoa Day activities, and we are preparing for the second edition, which is supposed to be held in February or latest March 2008. Mr. Chairman, this in short are the activities carried out by the committee in cooperation with other allied institutions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
distinguished delegate of Cote d'Ivoire. Let's have a Togolese. Before then, I wish to acknowledge the presence of the delegation from Gabon. We wish to welcome you to the meeting.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Et le Togo n'avait pas de structure appropriée.
Did not have any appropriate body specifically for the promotion, but as I said yesterday, this has been done. We have established a special committee for the promotion of cocoa and chocolate, and considering that we promote both coffee and cocoa, we deemed it fit that this committee also do the promotion of these two products simultaneously, that is cocoa and coffee. I will submit a copy of the text or the instrument creating this body to the Secretary General. Togo has now a conducive environment. There are a lot of activities which are being carried, which are focused on the youth. A lot of events, games, football, beach events, and we believe that we'll be successful in this promotion. And we are currently contacting sister countries for the training of the youth. We have not forgotten the offer made by Malaysia, and we will contact the Malaysian delegations to see what we can do in this regard. Now, with regard to the regulations establishing this committee, it is envisaged to train youth teams, train them in various promotional activities, and to carry on any activity having to do with this promotion issue. We've still not instituted a National Cocoa Day, but with the establishment but even if we don't have products, we can still come over to Ghana with their system to come and buy products to continue with our promotion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You distinguished Togo, you are always welcome to Ghana. Can we call on our Gabonese friends to give us a report on the consumption activities in Gabon if they are ready?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Actuellement au Gabon, la promotion n'est pas effectivement totalement lancée parce que on a déposé un texte au niveau de l'Assemblée. On attend que le texte soit pris, mais sinon il y a des activités de promotion qui se mettent en place.
A number of promotional activities that we are organizing. We are in partnership with a chocolate manufacturer based in Libreville, and where we are doing a lot of we're carrying out a lot of joint planning activities with regard to the processing of cocoa and other things like ginger, and we are trying to ensure that at our various fairs the Gabonese chocolate will be present, and we try to ensure that chocolate is available wherever the president is traveling to. Now the president can take this along, and we have a chocolate exhibition in Paris, and we will also be present, and we hope to really present our product. These are some of the small activities we're carrying out for now, and there are a number of embassies. We received a letter from Japan, talking about some of the chocolate they had tasted earlier on, but the committee has not yet been established.
Having taken a few notes on some specific member countries, through you, I would like to ask, for example, the delegation of Cote d'Ivoire, which talked about this very interesting concept of having different points in Abidjan where cocoa is consumed and different recipes or different spices are added to it. I would like to get a little bit more detail on that, because that is a fundamental issue that could help people in the various regions identify with cocoa if we can add local condiments that is found in their region. That was the first question. The second point, Mr. Chairman, is that in most of our countries we have universities that have departments of food and nutrition. I'm wondering how we are using them to develop recipes that can be, spread around our various countries. A lot of them don't know much about the use of cocoa in their departments. It may be important for us to contact these universities that have institutes of food and nutrition. The third question is to see how often delegates have the opportunity to hit our website on the virtues of cocoa and what their reaction to the way the data is presented on that website. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Maybe I'll give the floor to La Côte d'Ivoire to answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In reality, this is a project which was put in place for the coffee component. There was a committee of which was put in place by the OIC, and so we had added various recipes added to the cocoa, and it worked. There are some you put it in the product to conserve it, and some of them you need to consume the product as quickly as possible. But I can give you the document which served as the base document for that particular exercise. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if the delegate from Côte d'Ivoire can make a document available, if it's not too bulky, he can equally make it available to all members for their use.
In the 2006-2007 cocoa year, the Secretariat, as part of publicizing the virtues of information on the virtues of cocoa, participated in a number of conferences and meetings by giving presentations on these virtues of cocoa. Listed here are the activities, the conferences and workshops that we participated in. The third National Cocoa Day celebration in Nigeria. The virtues of cocoa too was presented at the 34th Extraordinary General Assembly in Kuala Lumpur, and at the National Cocoa Conference exhibition in Nigeria, the virtues of cocoa was also presented. And then in August, during the opening of the Cameroonian cocoa season, as part of the presentation, we did present the virtues of cocoa. And then during the African Cocoa Summit, we also presented the virtues of cocoa. All this as part of the education on increasing the awareness on the virtues of cocoa. At the same time, we're trying to have a handbook for national promotion committees. Now, the handbook, I'll explain in the next bullet point, in the next agenda item, is to help the national promotion committees with some activities. And specifically, we're thinking about national quizzes, so that they could have something to circulate for students to study and participate in the national quiz. Now, for the handbook for the national promotion committees, we will develop a draft, and the national committees would have to adapt it to suit their own environment. For example, when it comes to like the history of cocoa, the history of the cocoa industry in a specific country, the member country would actually have that information included in the handbook. So we will create the framework, and then the member countries would actually add their own information. Now we have two proposals that, in the absence of the promotion fund to have collective projects, the Secretariat felt that we still have to have something on the common ground that every member country could do to improve local cocoa consumption. The first is having the school quiz, and that is in relation to the development of the handbooks. The second is having cocoa seminars and conferences, and this is basically targeting principally the youth. And the main target we looked at is the high school, the secondary school category. In that, for the seminars, what we're proposing is that in each member country, the national committee could have a panel of experts which would include people from the various disciplines where the benefits of cocoa could be related. And here are some examples of the disciplines where the cardiovascular sector, cancer societies, the sickle cell area, the pharmacology, the nutrition and dietetics, and this could include schools and industry. Now, what we're supposed to do is that this group of experts could go around from school to school or any other public center and present the information on the health and nutritional benefits as it relates to their area of expertise. Now, the Secretariat would help provide all the necessary information for the various disciplines to carry out these activities. Now, during this seminars, you get a good interaction between the audience, who are the students, and the experts in the various fields. Now, the seminars could be in the form of presentations or just public talks, but the most important thing is the information is going to be related directly to people who need to know it, and basically the youth is the target that we're looking at here. Mr. Chairman, these are just a few of the activities that the Secretariat is proposing.
Mr. Chairman, the idea of having a group of experts we found out to be very, very important. We are communicating a summary of literature or documentation that we have read. But when these experts talk about it, I think it has more weight. And in this, that's what we are proposing here, that on special occasions or in schools, even on television, we could have a panel of these experts, each of them speaking in their respective fields. As far as the quizzes are concerned, the first Cocoa Day we had, Copal Cocoa Day here in Ghana, it was extremely a competitive event and very well organized. A book was published on cocoa and circulated to to all the secondary schools. There were regional contests, local contests, regional contests, and then the grand finale was done on live television, and the school that won received different prizes. And it encouraged students to read about cocoa, its production, its maintenance, from gardening, from nurseries all the way to the nutritional and health benefits. These are some of the activities that countries that have their cocoa days could plan. They start well in advance at the local level with quizzes, and then it culminates in the cocoa day in some part of the country where you have, the final contest. I think this will encourage a lot of interest in cocoa. Private-owned televisions and radio stations allotted free time for communication on cocoa, and we know the difficulties in some of our countries. Every time you call journalists to have a conference on cocoa, they are worried about transport to and fro the venue and little things like that. But I think that we should contact the media so that they can allot some public service time to, communication on the virtues of cocoa. But this should be well structured so that we don't do it for 2 weeks and then we don't have any more information to give to them.
Thank you, Secretary General. Côte d'Ivoire.
Oui, merci Monsieur le Président de nous donner encore la parole. C'est juste pour échanger sur une expérience. Tout à l'heure, je vous parlais du chocolat du planteur. En fait, ce produit a pris parce que nous avons associé.
We have associated the image of a star to it. So increasingly, we think we should be able to associate the images of our stars to promote domestic consumption of cocoa.
Yeah. I don't want to overstretch it, but I was very impressed during the World Cup when I saw Drogba's name associated with chocolate. Maybe in the coming CAN 208, you might see some Ghanaian stars too in that, because I think it's very important. If children see these things, they strive to take chocolate and they'll know what the benefits are. And I think that should be part of all our concern to promote cocoa as a healthy drink. And
there's actually a movement now, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to drag this on and on, between research institutes on the health benefits of cocoa and FIFA, because of the number of footballers who have collapsed during football matches and the beneficial effects of cocoa on the cardiovascular system, especially increased mediated flow dilation, in which cocoa and nitric oxide aids in opening your blood vessels. Researchers are now contacting FIFA to see if some form of cocoa beverage cannot be served to players so that they don't have this cardiovascular arrest that we have experienced for 3 major footballers in the recent past. Thank you.
A friend told me a story which is related to cocoa consumption. I think he had prostate cancer, and he went for a review, and the doctor didn't find any traces. They asked him, what have you been doing? All he said was he was taking Royale. So he advises to take a lot of Royale. Maybe that is also another area where we can be thinking about, because there are so many health benefits that are arising from cocoa that maybe scientists will need to take heed of and then advise everyone what to do, whether it's cancer or what have you. So maybe as a committee, these are some of the areas we should be looking at and try to push forward this cocoa consumption. Thank you.
Nigeria has already produced a booklet on the health and nutritional benefits of cocoa. The title is "Have You Had Your Cocoa Today?" So we can give it to the Secretariat to help them in the work they're proposing to do. Thank you.
Maybe not only give it to Secretariat, circulate it so that members can also read it.
We'll circulate it among members. We brought some copies.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Maybe we can move on to the next item if you have nothing else to add, which is the upcoming events.
Earlier this year, we had the meeting of the Codex Alimentarius Committee on Quality holding in Beijing, China, and we took advantage of that meeting to meet with all the ambassadors of Copal member countries accredited to China to see if there was any way they could negotiate with the Chinese government on giving us some space during the July Olympics for us to promote our cocoa products. Unfortunately, we found out that we were a bit late because an issue like the Olympics takes many years to plan, and it was extremely expensive to even have a billboard in the statements in the stadium saying cocoa is good for you. It was a billboard of the size of one of our flags was going to cost $2 million to put in the stadium. So the Olympics is big money, and it was very difficult. However, the Copal ambassadors met with the Chinese Olympic National Organizing Committee and it was decided that a private sector group will try to organize some kind of a promotional campaign the week before the July Olympics, and that work is ongoing now. There have been some exchanges that have been done with the Secretariat asking us for background information, but as Copal, it was a bit late for us to get involved in the China Olympics. The African Cup of Nations is coming up in January 2008 here in Ghana, and we have already obtained the approval from the government of Ghana to have a Copal village, either centrally in Accra or in the different stadia where the matches would be held, if we want to. The Secretariat has communicated that in a note to all the member countries, especially the African member countries of Copal, you know, because being an African nation, the African Cup of Nations, but we send that to all our member countries. But to date, we have not received any response, because we wanted to know if people were interested, what their specifications would be, what space they would require. So far, we've had no response. So we've kind of left it hanging. But if any countries have any ideas while we are here, the committee, national committee, was in this building yesterday, and they would have liked to meet with us, but we had no information to pass on to them. But while we are here, we could have an opportunity to discuss and see what we could get from there. But the Minister of Finance has given us, and Economic Planning has given us the assurance that we can have a Copal village if we want to have one during the 2008 CAN Games. Now, the next big opportunity that we're looking at is the World Cup, which will be taking place for the first time in Africa, in South Africa, and I think we have enough time to start working. I think we have enough time because we're already in 2007, and some of these things are negotiated and approved years before. So if we want to get involved in that, then I think, you know, the committee needs to tell the Secretariat what initial steps, or authorize us to take initial steps and report back to see what would be involved. But these are worldwide opportunities to expose things on the virtues of cocoa that can help us to get our different origins known. So these are the upcoming events, including those that, of course, are taking place in the different member countries. Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you.
The 2008 event is close, and I expect that the Secretariat will tell us what we should do as member countries. Are we putting items to the Secretariat together, or how do we do it if a space is given to the Secretariat of Copal to bring its members there? Can you because I saw that letter sent to us, but I was thinking that if we ever come to this meeting, we'll be able to ask the chairman, the Secretary General, to enlighten us.
The committee would consider, you know, a Copal village where all the Copal members interested could you know, assemble their various cocoa products and byproducts and things like that. But we need to let them know what we need. If, for example, Nigeria needed a surface area of 6 by 6, then, you know, we need to know, or whichever country, what you would need. Would you need electricity connection? Will you need a video thing? It depends on what you want to do. It's just like the other expositions that take place. You know, there's a surface area and you use it the way you want to do. But individual countries could do it, but we wanted to have a Copal village so that at least we'll all be together in one area. That is possible, but we need to give them the specifications.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous voudrions remercier le secrétariat pour l'initiative pour le village Copal.
For the Copal village, we had the same problem as Nigeria. We received mail, but we wanted more specifications to have the vision concerning space. In principle, in these kinds of exhibitions, the organized a space, and it's shared among the various members, and this is the vision that we desire to have. If that is the case, we can adopt here or propose that the promotion committee proposes to the General Assembly or the Secretariat to act in this sense, to have a space, and then also to tell us that we have the right to set such a size, and each member will come with what he desires to come with, occupies the space, and does the promotion of the product. Since all that will be done under the coordination of the Secretariat, that is our vision, Mr. Chair. By the mail we have received, and we will be responding in the sense that has been indicated. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We are going to get the go-ahead to have a space, and with that space, we then inform the member countries what surface area they can have, or what they can bring. You know, cocoa. Yeah. But we thought that if they let us know what space they may require, then it may enable us to negotiate for space for everybody. But I think either bottom up or top down, we can arrive at the same situation.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the Secretariat for coming up with the proposed upcoming events like the footballs and the China Olympics. We are all for the promotion activities carried out by the Secretariat, and if needed, I think the members countries who are interested should respond accordingly to the request by Secretariat to have the space available for them to promote the cocoa. And also, we are for Secretariat to do whatever necessary to get Copal, promote the cocoa in the FIFA 2010. We would like to have the Secretariat to come up with whatever they need to do and present to the committee or the council. Let's see what we have, what they can offer, and what we can do, at what cost, so that we can agree upon and we can proceed with the project. Thank you.
Apologize for the late indication of our wish to mention an item on other matters. As a matter of fact, it concerns the chairmanship of the promotion committee. For some time now, it's been held on an ad hoc basis. Well, you recall that the substantive chairperson is Mr. Joel Mbianda of Cameroon, and he's not been available for some time now. So we're thinking that maybe we could suggest a replacement by somebody who will be more available, from Cameroon. So if the Assembly has no objections, we would like to suggest Mr. Njero Vondo, who is the General Manager of the Cocoa Development Authority of Cameroon, to replace Mr. Mbianda as Chairperson of the Promotion Committee. Thank you very much.
A proposal is on the floor. Maybe we have to get comments from members as to what to...
The only comment I can make is to reiterate the importance of having a chairman, because this is a statutory committee. Sometimes it's difficult to send out documents because the chairman has to see the draft agenda and agree with the draft agenda before it's circulated. And when we do it on an ad hoc basis, means we come here with an agenda that the chairman would not have seen before. Okay.
So Cameroon will take the chair, a permanent chair of the committee.
Yeah, we will permit us to thank the Assembly for the unanimous support, the committee for the unanimous support, and we think we will be up to the task. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure the chairman will give a lot more vigor to the committee so that we get a lot of those things that we've discussed here on a good footing. So congratulations for that.
Could we see who this certain Jerome Vondo is, please?
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. If there's really a time on other matters, I think that is taken care of. The adoption of the report, I realize that we have some other issues on the promotion fund, especially the rules and regulations, which we suspended, and that has to be looked into in the course of our deliberations. And I think if there's a need, we'll come back to that. Apart from that area, I think everything else has been well taken care of. And I wish to thank delegates for your understanding. I think this committee has demonstrated one thing, that we need to strengthen this committee to ensure that all our aspirations, all our dreams will come true. Because without consumption, without promotion of consumption, I think Copal will not be that effective. And I would like to thank delegates for the support you've given me in the last few hours. And let's hope that when we meet again, at least we'll be able to resolve this issue about the promotion fund. On that note, I think I will, if there are no comments, I would like to adjourn the meeting, and thank you for your support. Thank you very much.